Hello everyone and welcome to the Visual Aid lecture. Today we are going to be discussing how to properly insert visual aids into our essays. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question that we see up here, why use visual aids? And I'm going to hazard to guess that we can answer that right now without saying anything, because I bet most of you, your eyes are down at the bottom of the slide where we see the three different figures. And the reason we like to use visual aids is because it's interactive with the reader. It gets them to connect with the words that are on the page. And we can offer information in a different kind of way that is easier to write. So, for example, a pie chart or one of these charts or graphs down here. If we offer the information where it's in a table, or it's in a graph, or a chart, or a picture, or something of that sort, people are going to take that information and they're going to be able to break it down faster and more organized in a way that you could try to present it in writing. So, also I would mention that, of course, the PowerPoints for this is in the week's material. And this one might be worth opening up so that you can get probably a better look at the slides than you're going to get on the YouTube video. So here's an example on the right hand side of your screen of the St. Martin's Handbook 8th edition, and here they talk about how to use a visual aid. And so I've broken it down on the side where there are 6 steps to successfully using a visual aid, and that's what we're going to cover in this PowerPoint. So, number 1 is the figure is explained prior to the placement of the figure, and we will go in depth about what that means. Number 2, in-text or parenthetical citation of the figure. Number 3, the figure is placed appropriately in the document. Number 4, the figure is labeled, titled, and credited to the source it derives from. Number 5, the figure is directly followed up by a discussion that breaks down its significance and its relation to the overall point being made. And number 6, the source information is located on the works cited page. So this is not all that different from what we've seen in the prior lectures dealing with source citations and attributing credit to sources and so on. So if you watch the last 2 lectures, this one will make a lot of sense to you, because we're essentially doing the same thing, albeit a little bit different, but we're doing the same thing that we did before with quotes and paraphrases, but this time we're doing it with a visual aid. Okay, so points 1 and 2. So I'm going to read the yellow highlight you guys see right here. I'm going to go ahead and read that guy. And it says, this trend is illustrated in a chart distributed by the College Board as part of a 2011 analysis of aggregate SAT data. And then in parenthetical citation it says see fig.1. Notice that the fig, the F is capitalized, and then it's abbreviated, and then space 1. So that means see figure 1 is basically what we're saying, but we don't spell out figure. So if we go to the right side of the slide, we see points 1 and 2 are achieved in a simple sentence prior to where the image is inserted. So the first 2 criteria are already met in this simple sentence. So while there's a lead-on sentence that connects the topic of conversation to the image. You must include, so you have to include this, where the figure originated and what it illustrates. And we've done that there. So when it is completed, you will put in parenthetical citation see fig X, whatever that is. So you could be at figure 10. So however many figures in for you guys in your essays, you're just going to have one figure. So I mean, you can put maybe 2 or 3, but I wouldn't want to get too many in there. But just at least one. So point 3 asks that the figure is placed appropriately on the page. So let's talk about what that means. Here, on this example, you can see that in MLA format we have 1-inch margins all around the paper, and that this figure lines up perfectly to the 1-inch margins. That works for this figure. It looks good. Other figures, let's say it's a picture, perhaps you don't need as much room. It could be a little bit smaller. What you don't want to do is go beyond your 1-inch margin. So don't make it, this way, go more to the right and more to the left than your writing is. So you don't want to get outside those 1-inch boundaries. It can go a little bit smaller, but generally speaking, I think we like to go right up to them. Remember, the point of a figure is to help give information to your audience. If for some reason, say you need more space than 1-inch margins, then perhaps you have too much information in your figure, and it's not going to be helpful to your audience because they're not going to be able to digest the information that's there. So you got to think about what the figure is offering and how much space it needs in your paper to be easily read. Okay, moving on to point 4. It requires that the figure is labeled, titled, and credited to the source it derives from. So we have 3 criteria here: labeled, titled, and credited. And there are certain ways to do this. So first, let's say the label, all figures will be labeled as fig X. So capital FIG, period, space, and then the number for whatever it is, or whichever sequence it is in your paper, and then it's going to be followed up by a period. That is your label. Okay? And then you're going to have a title for the figure. This can come from a few different places. It could be the title of the graph, or the title of the organization offering the information, or the title of the essay that you're getting this information from. So it can be whatever it is that makes sense, but it shouldn't be incredibly lengthy. So take the time to think about a good title, make it make sense, but it should fit within a line or two. So the title for this graph is A 10-Year Trend in Mean SAT Reading and Writing Scores 2001 to 2011, where Series 2 equals critical reading and Series 3 equals writing. Okay, and then after the title, the source has to be credited. So there really is no particular guidelines for this. It just says it should be from the organization or the person that it's from. So it should kind of be a no-brainer. But the main thing is it should point your reader to the direction of how it's going to be cited in the works cited page. So because this is an organization, College Board, and we could have left it College Board, but I chose to put in, to be more specific, 2011 SAT trends, right? If it was an author, like let's say Andrea Lunsford, we would have just said data source : Andrea Lunsford, period. and it would have been over with. So usually we're using just the name of the organization, the person, or perhaps a book from where the source derived from. Okay, and then point number 5. After introducing the figure and placing it, labeling it, titling it, and giving it source information, the figure should be, shocker, it should be discussed. Okay, so again, we're going to have our follow-up statement. Why is this in our paper? Why is this important? What information is this giving to us? We're not just throwing figures in because I got to get to page 10 and this is going to take up a third of my page, right? No, you're doing it because there's some sort of information that you're trying to give to your reader, and this helps show that information. You know, the expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, sometimes a graph is worth 200 words, right? So if you can eliminate a paragraph trying to explain numbers or trying to explain trends and show it with a figure that does it far better than you could articulate yourself, why not? Do it, right? It makes sense, and it's good for the reader because it helps them stay engaged. Remember at the beginning of this this lecture how your eyes probably went, I suspect, I wasn't there, but I suspect they probably went directly to the 3 figures at the bottom of the screen because our minds work like that. It's easier information for us to retrieve and understand. So be sure that there's a purpose to the graph or to the figure that you're putting in there. Make sure that you take the time to explain it. And then finally, as always, if it is in the body of your paper, it has to be in your works cited page. So just like anything else, you're going to develop a citation for your figures in your works cited page. And, you know, again, College Board. I said College Board in the source for this guy, and so I'm going to be looking for College Board in the works cited page, and there I find it. Okay, so pretty easy stuff. This probably makes more sense if you've gone through the other 2 lectures first, which I hope you have because they kind of build on each other. Not that difficult. It's organized, it's methodical. This is easy peasy stuff for you to do. But most importantly, if you format your essays like this, when it comes to using source material, your professors are going to thank you, because I can guarantee you they see a mess most of the time. And when they come to your essay and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, he has got a lead-in sentence. Wow, in-text citation, does it match with the works cited page? Wow, it does. That's a breath of fresh air. Okay, and there's not a lot of students that do this consistently. They should. That's why we're here. That's why we're in college. But there's not a lot of students that do this consistently, and so that's going to make you stand out above the rest. Okay. All right. If you have any questions on today's lecture, go ahead and send me some emails. Otherwise, I think there's one more left, and that has to do with what an MLA paper should look like overall. So there's going to be an essay on there, and we're going to talk about the different parts to that essay. We're not going to deep dive like we have been here. Should be pretty simple, but if your essay does not look like that, then it's not going to look like an MLA formatted essay, and you got some problems. All right. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at the other video, and let me know if you have any questions.